so mobile.
Okay, so just so everyone knows, we're going to be live, okay?
Okay.
Like, maybe I'm getting on here too soon. I wonder if I think I can pause it.
I think
Okay, we can be on here.
yeah, we're on it. Yay. Okay, so then this is going on to Facebook. Very exciting.
Okay, so I'm going to turn that volume down so I don't hear myself repeating. Okay, so we are literally live on here. Oh yeah, and I guess I should have said that, I should be recording this. Or will it record it anyway? Let's just record it and then I can, whoops, wrong button.
And then we can post it on our Facebook group.
Yeah, we can even edit it. Well, we're
kind of
also we're also live on my YouTube. I realized I should have probably made one for N2NPS. So just to anyone who might be watching it now, this is for nurses, but it's okay. Maybe we'll reach more nurses that aren't in our group.
yeah, everyone's good. Yeah.
So now I'm gonna go.
Go. This is our first go. So.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Okay.
Oh.
And so we'll just come over here to the N2NPS and I'm gonna make sure it works. I mean, if we start a bit early, that's totally cool too. Let's hope it will work.
Sorry, dogs. Did you hear them?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
They look like they're having fun.
I think I can sneak out. 1 second. Just.
Okay. So I've shared it there. We'll see if some people show up. Maybe wait another minute. Oh, I
And
don't
you know what? If not, we can talk it out ourselves and just share.
Yeah.
I know. Shift work, whatever. I'm here. We're doing it.
It is what it is, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's a rainy night. What else have people got to do?
This weather, I tell you.
No.
I woke up in the little swimming pool my sister got for the dog was all blown into the backyard. Oh, at least it didn't go over the fence. These things.
Yep.
Okay. So we're at 7 o'clock.
Woo! Our first official live event. Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting!
So yeah, let's get into it. Katrina's gonna do our welcomes and everything. So
I'm not sure who's here, but I'll just pretend there's an audience. Well, you're my audience, right?
Of course we are.
Yeah. So welcome to our first live nurse-to-nurse peer support on Facebook Live, and I guess it's streaming to YouTube as well. So a little nerve-wracking here, but that's okay. Can handle this. So nurse-to-nurse peer support. I just want to welcome everyone who gets to watch this and all of our 211 Facebook peeps that are on there. I would say thank you for coming along on this ride. Nurse-to-nurse peer support. So who we are, what we are, kind of why we're here, sort of thing. So it was a personal reason first of why we have come together to found this group. The personal reason was it started with me seeing that there was a gap in really supports for nurses. My husband's a firefighter. I saw that he had a peer team. I worked in community and mental health and outreach nurse on the street, and worked a lot with EMS. And you know, I saw they had a peer support team as well. And I also saw, and I knew that the police had a peer support team as well. And so, you know, while working and advocating for supports, I ended up with an injury myself. So I ended up with PTSD, a work-related occupational stress injury. And I didn't take off work right away. I just kept plugging along as we do. I took some time off, leave of absence, and you know, the care I was getting, I got some care, but not a lot. And then I ended up, in the end, I ended up with a fairly severe injury and had to go off. And I've been off for 2 years. And in that time, I wrote a letter through UNA. So that's our local union. And I reached out to other nurses. It was a call to action to be like, this is enough. You know, this is my story. This is what's happened. And nurses reached out to me. And one of those nurses, you know, was Sara and Amanda and Fola. And, you know, those 3 individuals who are now founders of Nurse Peer Support. And that's how it came to be. So that is just a little bit about Nurse to Nurse Peer Support. I guess we'll introduce ourselves. I kind of jumped ahead there a bit. So you heard about me. I'm Katrina. I'm a RN and the founder of Nurse to Nurse, one of the founders of Nurse to Nurse Peer Support, working in recovery, almost back to work. What that will look like, we'll see. And I'm a mom and a partner to a firefighter. You heard that already. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. Sara, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, I guess it's my turn. Okay, well, I am Sara Blhachik. I am one of the co-founders of Nurse to Nurse Peer Support. Surprise, that's why we're here. So for myself, I'm an RN. I was part of the first graduating class from Grant MacEwan University for RNs in 2011. Right? Yes, doing my math now. Anyways, so I've been an RN for quite a few years now. I spent 11 years working in the emergency department of the surgeon, developed a good family, had a lot of interesting experiences, a lot of really good, quite a few really bad. And over, you know, the decade, it built and built and built. And slowly I was becoming more and more injured, and I didn't even realize it. Like, I had no understanding of my own injury, but I was there helping other people through theirs, which is quite ironic. And I ended up having one traumatic experience too many that ended up triggering me to go off work for PTSD, depression, anxiety, all those good things going with it, which was an experience. And I found there was no support. Nobody really knew what to do. Nobody provided guidance. I felt kind of like I was on my own, and it was very isolating and really dark. And then I read Kat's letter in the Una magazine, and I felt a connection. I felt like somebody who could understand what I went through. And I answered her call to action, and her and the others, we want to make changes. We don't like how it is. And I'm driven. And now I've found a kind of a new purpose for me, and this is it. I'm almost on my master's degree of nursing as well. I've been taking that online through Athabasca University. Now I'm focusing on legislation, policy development, protocols, and organizational change. I want to fix this because this was not okay. This is not something that nurses should be dealing with. There, like Kat said, we see other services, public service personnel, much like ourselves in other provinces, but for some reason, Alberta, we're not recognized as that. We see others getting support for their injuries, and I just felt brushed aside. So enough is enough. I'm with this organization, this group of women, these powerful nurses, want to make that change. So that's actually leading into our goal and vision for Nurse to Nurse Peer Support. We want to see one day nurses getting peer support everywhere, no matter where you are, no matter where you work, no matter what field you're in. We want peers to support one another, and we want to help maintain that. We want to make it sustainable, and we want to offer things to help people. That's what we're doing, and we're figuring it out as we go, but our vision is really just to support each other. That's what we're doing. So, and on that note, Fola, your turn.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
I'm married too. Sorry, personal stuff. Right.
Oh,
Right, not all business. Partner, he's a firefighter, and I'm a doodle mom. But back to you. Forgot.
Yeah, I guess we need to share about ourselves, eh?
Right? Yeah, probably forgot about that.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I love being part of this group because yeah, like, as much as we talk about like peer support and wellness for nurses, it's so apparent as we go through our meetings together and like organize and plan and create how much we really are about that. Like, hey, self-care always comes first. So I'm very like blessed to be here with these ladies and Amanda as well, who's not here, but we will share about her. But my name's Fola, and I also am in Edmonton and have worked with Katrina in the past. So that's kind of how we met. We were working together inner city, corrections, supervised consumption site, all that good stuff within the healthcare system. And I guess I'm a little different because I am a psych nurse by training. So my approach to nursing is a little different. I always joke, I'm not a real nurse, but I guess I have some connection to nursing. But yeah, most of my career has been in mental health and addictions, and I've had my own like lived experience with mental health, depression, anxiety, and then what I would label as like a spiritual emergence, which was or a spiritual crisis, some people might say, where I was fortunate enough to be able to still function while maintaining my work. Most of my work has been in like the crisis team, so with police and crisis team, stabilizing and supporting people who are going through their own mental health crisis. And just because of my lived experience, really, I like feel this draw to support people with kind of developing their own like framework of what does a crisis look like for them. Because that's just like my own path has been one of like different forms of healing, holistic, alternative wellness. So that's kind of the path that I've taken with some of the work that I do now as I've stepped away more from like the healthcare system, but really hoping to like bridge these worlds of mental health, wellness, and like alternative methods, integrative methods for our wellness. But for myself in my personal life, oh, well, I have a lovely child who I love. She'll be 7 soon, so always an adventure there. And yeah, just always interested in altered states and all these like fun little things that people like to do. But really joining in with N2NPS is, I feel, is like an opportunity to support nurses. I was an educator for, I don't know, not 2 years, maybe almost 2 years. The times have just eluded me, really. And just seeing the level of stress and like the challenges that nurses are going through, and like all healthcare, but especially nurses, it seems like, and I think we could all agree, as nurses being more the feminine role, a lot of women caregivers, so forth, it's almost like we get the brunt of support. We don't really get a whole lot, and it's really starting to take a toll. So I really feel passionate of being able to support nurses through whatever challenges they're going through, and let's hopefully like shift the switch, or whatever they say. Flip the
which
switch. Is that what they say? I don't know what the saying is. I like my cliches, and I don't know the cliches. Uh, around like us taking care of ourselves first and then allowing that support to kind of like move into the clients that we're working with, the patients, the communities that we're serving. So that's really kind of where I come from. So who wants to talk about Amanda?
Oh, I'd love to talk about Amanda.
Yeah.
Um, you can all look on our website, the N2NPS.com as well, to see kind of more of our bios and whatnot. But Amanda was to be here as well, and she actually got called into work. So welcome to the life of nursing, as we all know, and probably short at work, and because another nurse off, probably sick. You know, we see it every day. We see how stressed we are. And I'm speaking before COVID because, I've been off for 2 years, and I, Fola and Sarah, you've been in there, and Amanda is in the trenches. Sometimes I like to call it, but because that's how it feels, and so Amanda is our chief operating officer, and she keeps us organized. She keeps me organized, and she's lovely. She's got fiery spirit, and she is really here to she has the passion and drive to support us and support each other, and really to meet each other where we're at. That is one thing I think that, you know, we really want to instill, is meeting each other where we're at, is really that harm reduction philosophy that many of us practice with our clients, and that trauma informed approach really is like, see a person as maybe they have had, you know, some trauma in their life, and approach them with kindness and compassion, and not to judge, and then, you know, that brings in that harm reduction approach again. And, you know, so we all walk that path. And yeah, so I can't really speak for Amanda because she's not here, but if anyone, she did say if anyone has any questions, you can, on the website she has her walking group, so her contact details are on there, and maybe we'll post them as well, so you can reach out to her. I'm just gonna see what we may have missed, and I don't have my glasses on, so I'm squinting. I guess some of our visions for the future are really like, we have our circles that we have. We've met many of you in already, and they're the open circles. So those circles are just a place that you can come and process the events, the things that are inside us that are really causing us pain. So it's a safe place and a trauma-informed place, you know, with peers like us that have experienced the same things that you've experienced. And you don't have to talk a lot about being a nurse, because we already get it. So that piece is really nice from anyone that's had to kind of, you know, struggle through that piece. The groups themselves, yeah, come and check them out if you haven't. Let us know if you want to come. If you have any questions, you can email us as well. The Canadian Federation Nursing Union, before COVID happened, they did a study. I did post it on the Facebook page just recently, the Q&A, so it was quick. They talk about, you know, stats around substance use, I think was in there, stats around, you know, just our mental health well-being overall, and how poor it is. And that was before COVID. And now, you know, just recently I found a paper from the RNAO, so Registered Nurse Association of Ontario. They have a well-being study, and that study in itself was talking about, you know, our wellness, and our wellness is very poor right now. And, you know, I probably don't even have to tell that to this group, but it is very poor. And it was looking also how many people are going to think they're going to stay in nursing. And it looks like, and what I'm hearing and seeing in the media and the studies that are coming out, is that there's going to be a mass exodus of nurses. So how do we keep each other well? Well, as we know, if we're looking after our client, this is how I kind of look at peer support, is if we're looking after our client, who informs the care? The client does. So if we're wanting to look after nurses and we need that care, who informs that care? We do. Not someone above us. It's us. We know what we need. We're professionals. We know it. And you know, sometimes I think it's really hard to bridge between, you know, our employers and that person that's feeling stigmatized or discriminated against, or just feeling like they can't approach. But peers are able to bridge that engagement. You know, if you've ever worked with peer supporters at all in any kind of capacity, you know, their role is to engage. It is evidence-based. It is, you know, through the Mental Health Commission of Canada, CMHA, CAMH, they also endorse it. And it is something, you know, there's Peer Support Canada, there's many different peer support organizations. It's all evidence-based. So, you know, and if we can prevent these injuries, that would be our goal overall, like prevention, right? The reality is that we can't catch them all. They didn't catch us. You know, they're still not catching folks that are out there. I know, I hear them, we hear from them, right? So, but in a perfect world, we'd like to prevent it. And if that's, you know, that is the ultimate goal, right? Is let's not let this happen to anyone else that we care for or work with. you know, and then our society, our community, you know, like it affects everyone. So,
Yep.
and it costs the system when we're injured. It costs the system. Holy crap. You know, let's talk about that, right? So, yeah, that's kind of my spiel is, you know, I want to see change. Like you said, Sara and Fola, like it's really, yeah, something we're all passionate about. And, you know, legislation like the PTSD legislation, the trauma, we're not even in that legislation, you know? So we got to talk about it. We don't talk about it enough. So we're here talking about it. So, and it feels safe and wonderful to be here with you all to talk about it. So thanks.
And there's some agreements in the chat box with all that from Twyla just saying absolutely, like, you know, it's like just, yeah, she's agreeing with what we're having to say here. I think for nurses, there's a lot more conversation. And I know, like Twyla yourself, there's lots of people that are doing a lot of great work that have connected with this group, taking part in the group as well, and just like spreading that awareness and that education and advocating for one another. And I think that's something in the circles that keeps coming up. It's like, it sucks that people have to have these like challenging experiences. And yet I think we all can agree, we can see how there's a benefit that it's happened. And now hopefully we can be this change that's so necessary. And so I don't know, like Sara, if you wanted anything else, or Katrina, anything else to add about a bit of the vision, the goals for N2NPS. Where are we seeing ourselves, ladies?
Well, I'm a big dreamer too. So I am the Advocacy and Education Director for N2NPS because I am very passionate about this, and I want to make it known that we should be included in the public service personnel category when it revolves around like PTSD, presumptive PTSD legislation, injury at work legislation. We in Alberta are not included in that. So that makes our struggles that much harder. When we're injured and seeking help in the system, we have to prove that we're injured time and time again to be believed. I know it. I had to go through it. Over 3,000 questionnaires, multiple psychiatrists diagnosing with PTSD from work, and yet still had to prove to WCB that I was injured. When I was having trouble holding a pen, right? Like it took me an hour to read a page because I just couldn't function. And one thing I really want to understand or make the public know is that we hear a lot about nurses being burnt out, which we are, hands down, we are burnt out. I don't think people understand the implications of what burnt out means. Most people think burnt out is tired. Yeah, okay, you worked a lot, you're tired, I get it. Burnt out is more than just being tired. There's actually been studies showing that being burnt out, nurses clinically who say they're burnt out are working the same level as being impaired by drugs or alcohol. So it's not something we could just be like, oh, they're tired, they need sleep. It's actually affecting nurses. So imagine your nurse is burnt out. That's the same as her being impaired under the influence. That's not acceptable, but for some reason, it's not being considered that dangerous. And I think we need to stop minimizing the fact that being burnt out, it isn't just tired. We need to be louder, and we need to make it known that this is a safety issue. This is a personal health issue. This is a community health issue. This is a patient safety issue. This is all these things. So it's much bigger than that. I want us to support each other on the unit, everybody, every day, every floor, every hospital, every clinic, wherever you work. I want you to be supported. But I want this further than that. I want legislation changes. I want policy changes. I want program development. I want research on this. I want this to be addressed on multi-levels. I want it micro, macro. I want society to be aware of what's happening and not just in a, oh, nurses, pandemic, blah, blah, blah. No, this has been coming a long time. Now is the time for it to get addressed. Now is the time for us to change it. So that's kind of why I'm clearly the advocacy loudmouth. But there's a lot of events we want to plan to include that too, one of which we'll start asking for everyone in the group to submit your stories to us if you want, because we want to have a rally call. We'll tell you more about it later. No rally, no, because of COVID, that's not happening. It's just me. But anyways, I take it back. but I want to inspire people to submit their stories of your workplace experience, whether short staff, whether it be patient safety, whether it be abuse, whether it be trauma, whatever your experience as a nurse. I want to make sure that the legislature hears these stories of nurses. You can submit it anonymously. We'll get into it more later. And it will just be me reading this on everyone's behalf to make sure every single one of us is heard, one story at a time. But that's another story for later, because now I'm going on to other stuff. I'm jumping ahead. Fola, anything you want to add, or is it questions time? So much.
I'll just read through a bit of the comments here that are showing up. So again, if people have any questions or comments, we're going to be coming up to the question time. But yeah, just again, Twyla's mentioning the importance around like that trauma-informed care,
Mhm.
and like education and approach. And I think that's something we would all agree with is within like say WCB, with people, if nurses are going through WCB, but also, you know, like just each of us in the workplace. I know we talk about trauma informed care so much with for our clients or the people we're serving in the communities or in the hospitals, and yet we're not really like doing it for ourselves or with each other and so forth. So definitely an important piece. So
It's a
uh,
necessary piece. It's like coming up to you like, hey, Fola, you're really yelling a lot today. Like, is there something up, you know? But like, yeah, you're triggered, you're irritable, like those symptoms. People need to know what trauma looks like in a person, and it's not training or education that we get. So yeah, thank you, Twyla, for bringing that up, and yeah, so necessary.
yeah, and she also just throws in here, which I think is kind of a hope for us, is about research studies like are needed. I think that was mentioned, but yeah, definitely that is our I guess one of the long-term goals is to really start making the shift through that evidence and the knowledge base that can be gained there for all nurses like across the globe, right?
And the
So
thing
important.
with the research too, Fola and Sara and Twyla and whoever else is there is that there's other designations, professions that have done the research. So why do we have to like totally reinvent the wheel? Like we don't. Like we're pretty similar in what we do. Like these public safety personnel, the firefighters, like first responders, like nurses are left out of that. And that's not going to happen anymore. We need to be included in like this is we and that legislation, Sara, I'm going to get back on there a little bit. That train is it's not only Alberta that we're missing in the legislation. We have what is it? Yukon and New Brunswick are also excluded from that legislation. So like if we had a society that understood trauma and saw the work that we did and then actually recognized what was going on, then yeah, for sure. Just went on a little rant there. So
You know what's interesting too? I just want to like point this out, and this I think we've all kind of made a comment around how we're ranting or going on like a little bit of a like, but it's like it's funny when it's woman, it's almost like this tone policing or whatever, if I can call it that, right? Where it's like we're getting passionate and talking about these like really important issues, and yet like if we were to do it in say the workplace or somewhere, we would be told like whoa, 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 calm down, right? Like don't get too excited or anything like that, or don't like show the passion and the emotion behind it. Like anyways, I just find that interesting.
Thank you for bringing that up, because and
Yeah.
the other part around that is we're not used to talking about it because we're quiet. We just keep plugging along, because if you can't cut it, like if you can't do it, you can't cut it. Like you're out. Like you shouldn't be in this department anymore because you just can't handle it, right? Oh, you got PTSD, you just can't handle it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not. So that is part of that piece right there. You just said it.
Yeah. So this kind of leads into a question. So we'll go into questions again. If people have questions or comments, leave them in the YouTube chat or wherever. I'm doing my best to read them all. But I have some questions here from people. So one that I'll just put it to you, lovely ladies, is what do you think is one of the most important things nurses can do for themselves right now in the current COVID situation?
Well, I guess I'll go. One thing you can do is make sure to take time for yourself. I know it's self-care, everybody's saying it. It even makes me go like, "Ugh," if I hear self-care one more time, I'm just gonna, ugh. Anyways, but but it's true. So even just taking a minute, literally just a minute, to sit there in your car before your shift starts and finish listening to the song on the radio before you go in. Like just something small for you, right? Like that's what you need to do, because that's something I failed with, and I probably should have been reminded of more, that we are important. We need to be nurtured too. So just take that moment for yourself. But also don't be afraid to get loud anymore. Don't be afraid to say, this is enough. This is not okay. And there are official channels to do it. Like, you can RLS, you can My Safety Net, you can do these official complaints, whatever you need to do with whatever organization you work at. You can write to your MLA, you can, whatever you feel you need to. But maybe start, instead of feeling burnt out, get mad. That's a thought for me. Like, let this just kind of light a flame in you, because it can help with the burnout. I know that for a fact, because I just get fueled by fire, and it gives you some drive and love for the profession again. I find signing up for myself, I've grown as a nurse. I feel, just saying, enough. I've advocated for everybody else. Why am I not doing this for me? This is enough. So now I'm going to advocate for my coworkers and my profession. And if more of us start doing that, I think we'll make a lot of changes very quickly if a lot of us catch on. So that's what I would recommend. But, Kat, go ahead.
Yeah, and Fola had said it too, is really starting with yourself and recognizing it's okay to take time. And I didn't, we don't take our breaks. It's our right to take our breaks. If you're having a moment, one thing that's really helped me in my healing is mindfulness or meditation and breathing. So taking the time, and we know that the breath slows the nervous system and supports our nervous system. If it's 2 minutes in the clean supply room and you find a moment to breathe, or if you're in front of your computer, just close your eyes. I use a calm app. I like to be told what to do with my meditation at times. I like that, unless I'm in nature. But, when we're on the ward, we can't do that. Or if we're out in the community, we can't do that. So it's just taking the moment to nurture our souls, nurture our body, drink water, really leave work at work, get your sleep, all the things that we tell our patients, listen to it and bring it back to yourself, because I think that, we forget about ourselves in all of this. So, and then when we start caring for ourselves, it's like we have the energy to care for others, and it just kind of spirals. And again, what Sara said was, use your voice. The more of us that stand up together, there's power in numbers. Nurses forget how much power, beautiful, positive power we have. And, and write those letters, and, come to our circles, meet us. I just reach out to people that you trust and tell them, and get rid of the pain that's inside you. I tell this to my kids. I used to tell this to my clients, is, that pain, that trauma, those things that are inside of us, it's like a sliver. And if that sliver is in our body for so long, it starts to fester. And if we don't get it out, it will get systemic, and it will cause us physical pain. It will cause us physical ailments. Your heart, it's all related, endocrine system, heart, all of that, or our brain. It's part of another organ, and it'll affect our mental and emotional well-being. So yeah, get those slivers out some way, and exercise, movement, whatever it might be for you. Yeah, those are my little tidbits. I'm sure I'll remember after. Damn it, I should have said that.
And that's okay, because there's other questions here. So
oh, good.
And I agree with all of that. Yeah. And I think a huge part now, and something that's really supported me, is going and talking with someone, one-on-one, which isn't always easy to do. And it's I don't even know what's harder, the therapy sessions or the in between of therapy, because the stuff that comes up, I'm like, what is going on sometimes? but it's also very healing, and it actually does lead to like a progression. And so, you know, I think the beautiful thing about N2NPS is that there's not like one right way of doing anything. It's just you finding the right techniques, the right tools or supports that are going to be the thing that you need. And within COVID, it's really about like the self-care, like day by day, living in the moment and just doing what like really feels good for you. And then, yeah, go working through like those things, Katrina, you're saying that
Yeah,
maybe are like festering and we've been holding on to.
that's right.
Um, and then, so the next question, which I think is also important and kind of connected, because I mean, it's about recovery. Like, really, what is recovery? But the question is how long have you all been in your recovery journeys? So maybe you want to share a bit about that, because I know we all know it's not necessarily linear.
No, that that is for sure. And there's a lot of this depending on what's going on in your life too, right? That's life. It's like recovery is like your mood, right? It just depends on
Mhm.
what's going on. I guess I'll start. And you know, I was first injured in 2017, and I took one day off from work. And you know, I went to a psychologist at that time, and we did CBT, and you know, I stepped away from the work I was doing at the time, and that did help for a bit. And then there was some more trauma that happened. So then that added to what I was already trying to heal. And, you know, I've been working for 16 years and working in harm reduction, working with folks in the inner cities of, you know, Edmonton and Vancouver. And, you know, one of my very first codes was as a registered practical nurse. And there was 2 codes in the first day. To this day, I still remember both those codes. And one of them included a child and, you know, hot dogs and my kids. I'm always watching. So like that has, you know, it's not just our nursing, it's our life in general too, right? So recovery is my definition of recovery and working in, you know, mental health and addictions. I think recovery starts from the moment the person realizes they need to figure out how to do things different. The moment they recognize that something is wrong, I need to do something. So, you know, I got better, then I got worse. I got better, then I got worse until it was like 2019, severe depression, like I said. And at that point, I reached out to, you know, I worked in psychiatry long enough. I knew who was trauma informed. I knew what I needed. I knew at this point the trauma was deep. I needed to get some EMDR, fought with Canada Life to get what I needed, continued to fight with them, and advocate and not fight, but advocate, yeah, positive, right? And other tools like I had transcranial magnetic stimulation, so that was another thing that worked in my recovery because it's not. It was good for my depression, my anxiety, and the trauma. It worked for all of them. But you know, after that, you know, there needed to be something else, and so it's just listening to yourself and continuing on in recovery. And peer support really is self-determined. You know, if you look at the documents through the Mental Health Commission of Canada, there is a document that actually supports in the training and, you know, how to form a peer support team. And you need to be in a certain amount of wellness in order to support others. And we know that as nurses, and it is self-determined. So that's the meeting each other where you're at. And that's being trauma informed and, you know, allowing each other the space when we need it, right? And with COVID, my kids just came home and I'm homeschooling again. And my stress level went up. So, you know, those old symptoms that don't usually come around very often, well, they were up a little bit this week. So, you know, that's all part of the recovery. And you know, these injuries, they take time, and you just have to give yourself that time.
True. So true. And for my injury, I agree. I don't really know the official start day. It's kind of one of those cumulative year after year. The first major event where I noticed I kind of had a bit of a change was in 2016. I went home after a night shift where someone was attacked, and I locked my bedroom door, which was the first time I've ever done when I went to bed. And I didn't even really register I did it until weeks later, and I kept doing it. and symptoms kept growing, trauma kept growing, but I didn't know. I thought it was just normal, right? Like I did what we always do, put my head down, kept working because that's what we're told. That's fine. Who doesn't have a bad dream about work? Who doesn't wake up in the middle of the night being like, oh shit, I forgot to do this, right? Like, and but it starts to affect you negatively. But in December 2019, that was my last traumatic event that really pushed me over the edge. I couldn't function after that, quite literally. I couldn't sleep for days on end. I couldn't close my eyes in the shower because I was afraid I was going to get attacked. Like it was just, it took me a month though of living like that and still trying to go to work and not even realizing how injured I was. And in hindsight, I don't remember the rest of that month. I don't remember Christmas that year. I don't remember New Year's. I really don't remember a chunk of my life because of the injury I didn't even know I had at the time. And my husband drove me to the doctor and I asked for help. And that was the hardest thing out of this whole process was finally saying, I need help. I'm not okay. Like that to me, and because I'm the one that people go to help. Like I help you, that I'm your nurse. Like people come to me and I'm not used to being on the other side of the table asking for help. So that was really hard for me. And I'm sure it's hard for us too, because we keep putting everybody else first and ourselves last. Um, so I went off work January of 2020, did therapy, and then COVID hit. And in March or in May, I went back to work because I felt so guilty of being at home. I was starting to feel better with my symptoms not being there for 3 months. I was like, but the guilt, seeing commercials of people plotting nurses, uh, I broke down crying every time that came on because I felt so guilty for not being at work. I knew I was safe at home. So I went back to work for the month. I thought, like, okay, maybe I'm ready. Maybe I'm good. I'm recovering. And then a month of working part time, like half of my usual schedule, I lost 17 pounds. I stopped sleeping again. I stopped functioning. I started having night terrors again. And at the time, I was still like, oh, I'm okay. I can do this. I can do this. Like, I can be here. I can keep going, not seeing in myself the changes again. So I thought I was recovering. And really, I was just readying up for my next crash. And I had no idea. So essentially, after that, I was off for the rest of 2020 in a traumatic psychological injury program, doing a lot of work on myself and trying to get healed and maintaining other things and life, like Kat said, because I still am a master's student. I'm still an aunt. I'm still, a wife. I'm still all these things, which takes time. So I started going back. I actually ended up needing a duty to accommodate. I'm no longer ever allowed to work in emergency department again because I'm such a high risk of being re-traumatized. And that was hard too, being told I can't go back to work with my family that I've been working with my whole career. So in March, I started working in a new department, and it's much more relaxing, but I still feel triggered even just walking in the hospital. I have to track my heart rate every day at work because the code blue buzzer goes off, and even though that's not my job to respond anymore, my body responds. So my heart races, I sweat, I get shaky because I knew at one point I had to go back there. So recovery, it's been a journey. I'm still on my way, right? Like I'm not done yet. I know I'm not done yet. And N2NPS in a selfish way is part of my recovery because I want to give back, right? Like I went through this crap, so maybe I can make it easier for somebody else so they don't have to go through it like I did, right? So this is in a way my own therapy in a sense of giving back to those that share my passion and share the drive. And maybe if somebody was doing this for me back then, maybe I wouldn't have been as bad. Maybe I wouldn't have had to have been off work for a year with an injury, right? So this is really to prevent those things, but I'm still recovering. I'm still getting there. So end date, I don't know. We'll see.
TBA, no?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
And I don't think it's selfish at all, Sarah. I think that's all of us here. Like even me just being in the space with other folks who've gone through like, some pretty severe traumas and experiences, it's really opened my eyes to see like, whoa, I've like experienced way more trauma than I've led myself to believe. Every day working in a crisis call center, like, going out into the community with police into people's homes. There are things that would happen that I was just like, oh, that's not so bad. And like, I don't even know how I do it, but now like, so
Yeah.
this is all part of our healing, our recovery. And I want to like tie this into what Twyla's just commented about, more around like the therapy and around PTSD, but having to repeat and relive issues over and over with different like therapists, I think she's referencing, can be re-traumatizing. And so it's really unfortunate that that has to happen, but I'm hoping that like this organization, through the peer support, one-on-one and in groups and the other events, that we can like support each other so it's not as re-traumatizing, not as intense. Maybe we can stop a bit of that cycle. But I think, yeah, same, that journey of like recovery, it's always just this, I like to think of it as like a wheel, like the wheel of life, the medicine wheel. It's constantly going, where sometimes it's like, yeah, I'm making leaps and bounds. And then all of a sudden it's like I'm taking 2 steps back or more. And like you're in the dumps. And I would say my whole life has been like that. But it's always in retrospect, I guess, right? When we look back, we can see. And so I feel like we'll always be in recovery in some way. People have their own struggles and unique issues that they have to kind of cope with. But with the right supports in place, it makes it easier. And I think, too, it makes us more resilient for when we go ahead. And if something does happen again, we have the tools, we have the supports or the people in place to like, so we don't like get stuck in certain places for too long. But there's no right or wrong, I guess, really, when it comes down to it, right?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Each journey is individual. Each person has their own way of healing and past, like, and that's the beauty of the organization, like N2NPS, like you said earlier, Fola. Like, it's about doing what works for you. Not everybody has to do this. It's not all for everyone. It's for whatever speaks to you. No judgment, confident, safe, like supportive. That's it. Whatever makes you happy, we're here. Like that's what we're trying for. So
sharing those resources and what has worked, and eventually that build those tools and figure out what is it that works. And Fola, like you said, like the circle, when the first circle I remember leading, my heart was gonna pound out of my chest. Like I was so scared because I was gonna meet nurses again. I'd been off, hadn't been around nurses. That fear is real. Like it's fear, like you feel it. And because you feel like you're going to be judged again. You feel like, and we're trying to not, we don't want that here. We want it to be a place that whatever's happened to you, we'll try to understand to the best of our ability. It may have happened to us too. And let's just heal together.
Yeah, totally. And that kind of goes into the next question. Thanks. Look at you guys we're all on a roll. Look at this. And I and I know this can be very dependent on people's locations. Not everyone's in Edmonton or in Canada, but do you have any resources for people listening? And also, where can people turn for different mental health supports or advocacy, even if they are going through a struggle? So maybe you ladies want to touch on that?
Yeah, that's dependent. Hey, Sarah, do you want to go ahead? You go ahead.
Well, really, yeah, Fola said, and Kat, it really depends wherever you are in the world. I found good help and free resources on YouTube, of all places, like guided meditation videos, fitness videos, breathing exercises, that sort of thing has been quite helpful. Also, biofeedback has been a really interesting thing for me. So I had bought on Amazon a little stat probe that tracks my heart rate and oxygen saturation while I was doing home exposure therapies to my scrubs even, and just monitoring my body and how I responded. And that's something you can do at home. You could do it at home. It doesn't cost much. Some nurses may already have that kind of thing at home. I don't know if you're crazy like me, but so you can track your heart rate when you're exposed to things and see how you feel and track the emotions that come up and do the exposure again. And the next time, go a few minutes longer. And the next time, like I remember when I did an exposure to my scrubs, I was like, whatever, scrubs, who cares? But the second I picked up my stethoscope, boom, it hit me. I just felt the weight of my career instantly. And that stethoscope, I realized, is more of a connection. I've had it since nursing school. That is mine. That's been with me through it all. So that's something you could do with the biofeedback. Resources for advocacy, hopefully your union, wherever you are, is a valid resource, hopefully. We are here to help. Obviously, we're still figuring out where everything is and muddling through it ourselves, but we are trying to be that advocate because, you know, we're not finding many, unfortunately. So there's always us that you're happy to join or start your own, whatever you need to feel heard and feel supported in your profession. Yeah, Kat, you want to add more to that?
So the question, Fola, can you repeat it so I can just add to it? It was
Unmuting myself. So do you have resources, and where can people turn to for mental health supports and advocacy?
yeah, so depending on the mental health issue, right? I guess if you're going to reach out to someone and you have any kind of mental health thing, I guess it's going to someone who's trauma informed. And that was my very first question when I had PTSD and working with folks that had trauma my whole career. I was like, do you know trauma? And are you trauma informed or trained in trauma therapies? And don't be afraid to ask that question. This is like you shopping for the best care for you, right? And you know, if that rubs someone the wrong way, they're probably not trauma informed, right? So that's okay. You don't have to keep seeing them. If I have you know, I'm still in WCB appeals, but Canada Life, I've had to ask for certain care. Like I talked about the eye movement desensitization reprocessing. So that's a treatment for trauma. That's a treatment for real deep, unprocessed trauma that we haven't been given the time to process at work, right? Some of it could even be from our childhood. You know, if you've ever done the ACEs assessment, you know, like, and that's not your fault either. Like, but it disaccumulates, right? And you know, another care treatment I got was the transcranial magnetic stimulation, but that was from a psychiatrist who I knew who was trauma informed. So it's really, again, going back to that advocacy piece, and us as nurses, we're really good at advocating for our clients. It is a skill to take back to yourself, and it's something to learn to do for yourself. But it's, again, asking those questions. And then here in Edmonton, we have a 24/7 access team, a crisis team. I was suicidal. I had homicidal thoughts. I was scared to reach out. I get it. As a nurse, as a mom, you know, it's scary. It's very scary. I knew the questions, what to ask myself. I had people around me I could talk to that were nurses, that I could speak to, that were friends. And sometimes, yeah, I was alone, but those teams are there to support us, and it is confidential. You know, I've had to ask questions around, like, you know, here in Edmonton, we have through the EMS or EMR, we have something called break the glass. And if someone breaks that glass, we can ask for that on our chart. And if someone breaks that glass, it goes to this whole other privacy department. So that those are things that we can do as mental health professionals or professionals in healthcare system, because I think that's another huge barrier. It's like if I went to get supports from the mental health team, I'd be going to see my workmates. You know, if I called crisis, I could see my workmates. And, you know, at this point, I don't care. But when I was really injured, I did care. I really did care. So, and again, you know, resources is something that we want to build on our website, and it's still a work in progress. And referrals, you know, like, we're talking to people, and just keep talking. And if you guys know of resources, you know, we'll start that list, and we'll start, you know, building it and put it on the website, and you know, share, because that's how we're gonna, it's nurses caring for nurses here, girls and guys. Oh, and my male nurses, friends that, you know, I want them to come, they're part of, you know, our male nurses counterparts. They also say, you know, it is a female dominated profession, and yes, we are not getting what we need, and it is because we are females. And I'm just going to say it bluntly like that. You know, I love all the males in my life. I love my husband, who's a firefighter that has a peer team, but hell, now we need it now. Like, this is for us. So yeah. So anyways, I go back in time and start ranting again, and I love it that I'm ranting, Fola. I love it. So yeah, that's
Speaking
yeah.
the truth. Speaking the truth.
The list of resources and allies, it is in progress. We're working on it. We're trying to get the best trauma-informed support to refer both through our own experiences and through our connections. So thank you for asking. We're working on it, I promise. But if you need any help, there's the crisis line or 811 or EFAP program through your employer, that kind of stuff too. So until then.
Yeah. And we do have our like Facebook group. I think now we're on Instagram. We're on LinkedIn as Nurse to Nurse Peer Support. I think the Facebook group might be the best because it's really great to see people posting questions on there, reaching out for support or information, because we have nurses from like across Canada, well, the globe, I could say, really. We have international nurses, like it's awesome.
Yeah.
You never know where you might like connect with someone and reach out and hear a bit about what they've been going through and whatever suggestions. So I think that's another awesome resource that we have at this point. And yeah, I think again, just connecting with, I love it what you were saying, Katrina, the trauma informed staff and looking into holistic sort of approaches, because that's something that I found really helpful for myself. And I also want to just say what Twyla is mentioning here, that she says she had many spiritual experiences throughout the PTSD, and that's what kept her alive in the end when she was feeling like she was done. And this is just my, maybe because I'm all about like the spiritual, holistic wellness. Like I found most of my healing with the shamanic work and the energy work, and that's not something you always find within the healthcare system or the like conventional models. And so really encouraging people to just ask the questions, be curious, look out and see what comes to you, because you might be surprised at what really is the thing that supports you on your journey. So yeah. Okay. So I'm just being mindful of the time here. A few minutes left. So we wanted to kind of share a bit about events that are coming up, because it is coming up to Nurses Week here. Am I doing that? I can't remember.
No,
Right.
Nurses Week. Go for it. Yeah. Do it, Fola.
Okay.
Do it.
So one really interesting a bang we got for, can I call it that, a bang for next
Sure.
week? Oops, it's police. So on the 12th and the 13th of May, so next week we have two webinars that we are co-hosting with Edmonton Police Service. The wonderful reintegration program with Edmonton Police. They've been doing quite a bit of work with their police force members who are returning to work. And so we have a lot to learn from them, these other first responders. So on the 12th of May at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and then on the 13th of May, which is the Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we're going to be hosting with them a couple talks on like managing stress, how to understand how like stress shows up physiologically in our bodies, hearing other people's stories too of how they've kind of managed and cope with it. So we would really invite you to join in. We're going to probably send that information out on the Facebook group, also to our like mailing list. So you'll have the Zoom links. They're just 1 hour webinars. Anyone can come. You can feel free to share it to anybody, really, not just for nurses, but we really want to start bridging the gap between other public safety personnel and like the nursing frontline workers.
Yeah,
So
the police are going to be there. The EMS have been invited. Firefighters have been invited. I think RCMP have been invited. Yeah, so public safety personnel. So and
yeah, it's going to be awesome. So come and join us there. And then also in addition to that, I mean, besides our bi-weekly circles, if you are interested, you can sign up on our website. I'll put the link in the chat box here so that you know how you can get on our mailing list. And those happen every other Monday. So we just had one this week. The next one is going to be on the 17th of May at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can sign up, join us. These are really an opportunity for people to share what they feel they need to share, or just listen if they want to, like, just listen. There's no like expectations with this, and it's all confidential. You know, we do our best to keep it in the safe space. So that's always open. We are also doing other events. I know we mentioned about Amanda. She's been hosting these Mind Over Mile, right? Mind Over Miles walking excursions. It's fun. We went this
It is
past.
fun.
Yeah. So this is in Edmonton. You're gonna have to like come to Edmonton at this point. But come and join us. You know, safe distancing, nice place to go outside, walk, de-stress, maybe have a conversation with another nurse or whoever might be there. And then Sarah's going to be hosting some outdoor art events. I don't know if you want to talk about it, Sarah,
Yeah,
a little.
absolutely. So, very excited about this because I found, like Kat and Fola were saying, that, being creative has really been a part of that great process. And I forgot that I liked making art as a nurse. I forgot that's something that people do, that they enjoy. So I found it's kind of been very fun for me, and just to encourage others to tap into that side we don't normally get to, just being creative and flowing. And so it's an outdoor out group. Of course, it will be following COVID regulations and guidelines. It'll be in the Edmonton area or St. Albert. It'll be outside. We will provide whatever we can, for art supplies, or donations are welcome, or if you bring your own, that's also up to you. But so we'll be posting about that soon for you to contact for details, because it's also weather dependent, and springtime in Alberta, you never know. So, but it's gonna be fun. You can do whatever you want. I will have a set, like, kind of topic or a few ideas for you if you have no idea what to do. Or if you feel inspired and you want to do your own thing, you can paint, you don't have to talk, you can have headphones in, whatever makes you happy and just gets you out there and just being creative and connecting with yourself. And it's probably going to be at a park with fire pits if we're still allowed fires at this time. So if you felt like really therapeutic, you could burn it and be like, yeah, freedom, if you wanted to, right? Whatever you want. So we're not all talk feely, right? It could be very much like, I feel good just drawing this face of this person I hate and burning it. That feels better, right? Like, whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you laugh, whatever makes you connect with who you are, instead of a burnt out nurse blob, because that's a terrible feeling. I hated it. I want to help others get out of it. So that's going to be coming very soon. Keep an eye out for that.
Thanks. Yeah. So we'll have that as an event as well on Facebook. I do have another event here to list, but Katrina, do you have anything else that's coming to mind to list upcoming?
I think we've talked about it all except for the guided meditation.
Okay, yep. Okay, so that was the next. So on May 22nd, which is a Saturday at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I'm going to be hosting a guided Reiki journey. So this is just a time for people to come. You literally can just lay down in your room, put your Zoom on. You don't have to have your camera on, and experience a bit of a guided journey and process to relax. And also just flow some Reiki energy, which is like a energy modality. So really, we're just about the wellness and all these different ways for people to kind of tune into themselves and tune into what helps them feel good, kind of relax the mind, relax the body, and yeah, see what other things come up for us. So that will be on May 22nd, and all these events will be posted on the Facebook page, and we'll create event pages for them. So yeah, so that's it. So I've posted the links. We will get, yeah, you can reach out to us over social media too. I don't know if anyone has anything else to say.
They can go to our website,
Yeah.
N2NPS.com, and our email's on there, and there's a contact page on there. And if there's any questions, or if you have, you're very curious about nurse to nurse peer support, you have ideas, you want to come and check us out and talk to the board, come and talk to us. We'll set up the meeting. Yeah, so here we are.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for your questions, your comments, the engagement, and yeah, just being there to support us. This is a great opportunity for nurses. Let's just put it that way, I think.
Yeah.
for us to really make change. So thank you. Okay. Well, I'm going to end the live. Bye, everyone.